Hey everybody, it's Maddie Cummins with Calming the Chaos Collective and Cerebrations LLC. So for those of you that don't know me and you're coming on for the first time, hi, it's nice to see you. I'm a journey coach and a social worker, and I'm just really super passionate about helping people understand their brain and body and faith connection as a way to deal with anxiety. So that's always our topic of conversation here. There's my dog. I completely forgot to post for the live, so if you come on, say hi. If you're watching on replay, say replay. And today we're going to talk about memories and distractibility, because my dog is barking and it's going to distract me because I don't know what his problem is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So memory is an interesting function of the brain, and I'm going to give you a little brain lesson. So if you're not a brain nerd, you might want to, close your eyes for a second and come back on. But memory is really about the brain working well together. So one of the things that happens is that when we want to remember something, it goes into our working memory, which is just our ability to kind of move through stuff. So working memory is what you might use during the day at work when you're trying to remember something for a split second. And then your working memory requires attention and concentration and organization to be able to kind of, this is the way I would explain it. It spins around and the brain goes, okay, what I need to remember. Is this short-term memory? Is this long-term memory? Is this something I can get rid of? It's a very, very complex thing that happens in our brain. And the interesting thing about memory is that it's the working memory is very susceptible to problems with anxiety. Because anxiety causes, we've talked about that internal chaos, that chaos NATO going around, and so if that's happening, there's not enough energy for the brain to remember. And I've talked about this before, but I think a really good example that I use in my own personal life is that if I'm feeling, I did it this morning, again, if I'm feeling like I've got all this stuff going on in my head, I will be paying attention to that stuff and not what I'm doing in the moment, and I will leave the house and not know if I closed the garage door and come back and see if I closed it, and I'll do that a couple of times until I finally say out loud, Maddie, you closed the garage door. All of us experience this where we walk into a room and we go, what was I just looking for? One of the things I know about working with people with anxiety and brain injuries as well, because I see their population or people that I work with, is they'll say to me, I think I'm losing my mind. Like, I think I'm getting Alzheimer's or dementia because hello, you see my dog? There he is. Sorry, like I said, it's not usually this active this time of day, so sorry about that. Anyway, there is this, they'll say, I feel like I'm losing my memories. I can't remember anything, and what people don't understand is that's all about anxiety. It's not that we're losing our minds. It's not that we're getting dementia or Alzheimer's or any of those awful things that can happen. It really is that the anxiety is keeping the brain spinning and doesn't have enough energy to remember. I think the thing to remember when you can't remember is, are you stressed out? What are you worried about? What is the noise in your head saying? We'll talk more this week as we move through about how to deal with that. But there are going to be times in our lives that things are more stressful and our brain's just not going to work as well. And the more that happens, the less our memory works. Now, it doesn't mean the memory's gone. It just means it's not working. So most of you can probably say, oh yeah, I remember when, this time there was a span of time I couldn't remember things, but it's okay now. So it kind of comes and goes. So I think the biggest thing for me is to not get freaked out about it. It is just a part of the brain function when we're stressed out. It will be something that comes and goes. And honestly, memories tricky because our memories code very differently when we're under stress. Memories code very differently when we are in trauma. Memories are very much a perspective. There's different kinds of memories that it's not, there's procedural memory and all kinds of memories that aren't necessarily about perspective. But when we're talking about I remember this, that memory can be very different for me because of who I am as a person and how my brain encodes it than it might be for one of my family members or one of my friends who might remember it differently. And so the reason I'm mentioning that is just as a reminder that memories are very, very, very complex. It's not just this one thing that happens. And so my hope as you kind of go through this week, as we're talking about memory, is think back about times that maybe your memory wasn't working as well. Think back about times that, you felt like you couldn't remember anything, like you'd just walk out of the room and completely forget. And consider whether or not that memory the loss of the memory was really related to the stress. I do think it can be very stressful. The thing about anxiety that I think is really hard is when we have something else happen in anxiety, it increases our anxiety and then we're worried about that. And so when it comes to memory, I think it's really about what are the facts, and the facts is I'm stressed out and I'm anxious, and so my memories aren't going to code as well. So we're just going to keep talking about memory this week. If you can think of times, if you're watching this now, say hi so I can say hello, or if you're watching on this replay, just put #replay. So we can continue the conversation. But the thing I'd like for you to comment on so we can all keep going in this conversation is, when was a time that you remember that your memory really wasn't working well? Memory is also very susceptible to illness and to viruses in our, if we're not feeling good, if we're not eating, if we're not drinking water, memory is very complicated and complex. And so if we're not taking really good care of ourselves too, getting sleep, all of that stuff that sometimes goes by the wayside with anxiety, then our memory's just not going to work as well. So my main point today is just, it's okay. We all deal with it. And it's always an indication for me, if I'm not remembering very well, that I need to take stock. It's kind of one of those outside, signals to me. We talk about how the body, like my chest will feel tight, our bodies will feel hot, our neck will feel hot, whatever your body signal is for the stress, that's my other indication that my brain isn't working as well. The other thing about memory, I think it's really interesting, is that memory also is about, and this is a different thing, but it's sometimes like if one of my indicators that I'm about to get a migraine, and I'm doing that today, so I have a feeling I'm getting migraine, is word find. Like I have problems finding words, and that's not really about the kind of memory, short-term and long-term memory that we're talking about. That's really about this memory of being able to get words and get it out. But it's just, memory is a very complex thing, like I keep saying. So my challenge to you this week is just pay attention. Like, if you're feeling like you're walking in rooms and you can't remember what you were doing, are you stressed out? Are you anxious? What's going on with that memory? And then that's another indication to you that maybe you need to sit down and do something different. So we'll continue the conversation throughout the week. I appreciate your patience with me today with not posting on the live. But you guys can watch it on replay, and you're great doing that. And I hope everybody has a good week. It's Tuesday, so I hope everybody has a good week, and then we will see you live on Friday if I remember to post it. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Bye.